Hello everybody, and today we're going to be taking a look at what if China created an empire. So, China is colored red because they're the attacker. So first, also we're ignoring NATO and all the other military alliances right now. So there's no NATO, no Warsaw Pact, no BRICS, no nothing. So first, China declares war on Taiwan since that is their main person that they bully most of the time. So first, China makes a landing all over Taiwan, and all the Taiwanese troops rush over here to protect their mainland, and basically they focus all their military and then just rush through, cutting the Chinese in half. But the clever Chinese come from behind and completely surround the Taiwan army over here, and they collapse. And then they try to spike towards and try to cut Taiwan in half. But there's a stalemate over here, so they're not able to do so. But in the end, as China makes more and more naval landings around the country, it finally joins all its sections and manages to complete its splitting of Taiwan, and Taiwan soon falls. So, China is eyeing more and more countries like South Korea, Vietnam, India, Mongolia, and all these countries. But they're surprisingly right now they attack Sri Lanka since their navy is already on the patrol and it is going to be really near to India, which is they're going to be a future target, and pretty near all these let's say, how do I put this, countries that China bullies are like over here mostly. So this will be like a good naval port, and since Sri Lanka is like an easy country to capture, the Chinese troops are gonna steamroll over them. And as Sri Lanka is already in collapse, it does not take a long time to completely just surround them, and their capture proceeds. Of course, Sri Lanka was provided with some weapons from India, but not really because they didn't really have time, and India knew and all these countries knew that there was no hope of Sri Lanka surviving. But over here, there's a peace treaty as China does not want Sri Lanka to protest and then kick them out since the people have been protesting over a while. So, let's see what the peace treaty looks like with Taiwan. So, this is the peace treaty. Sri Lanka gets a pretty good amount of land considering that they put up no rebellion and basically cost no money for China to invade. But putting those factors aside, China is now looking over here. Alright? They're looking over here somewhere. So, they're basically eyeing Bhutan, Nepal, India, and all these countries over here are also their targets. So this is what the situation looks like. China gathered up all their troops over here and then invaded over here, and they made the famous journey over Himalayas. That's going to be written down in history. And they also started invading India from here, since, mainland. So India is, fighting three-fronted war, and they are really concerned of what's gonna happen here. Because if the Chinese troops succeed in cutting off this land, they're gonna lose a whole chunk of land over here, and that is not gonna be good. Also, this is kind of puppet state now. Uh, and then we see Pakistan helping China, not directly, but supplying weapons and giving them whatever money they have, you know. Um, they're also secretly sending troops, but not directly trying to do anything, since they don't want India to like invade them. They already knew what that looks like. So, all this happening, India basically says, "I'm gonna put all my troops over, let's say, like this." So India's troops are basically centered like this, um, stopping Chinese troops over here and over here, and of course they have a lot of troops surrounding New Delhi over here. But around the rest of the India, there's just like a couple thousand troops, not really that much. Um, so India manages to push down China back into Sri Lanka, and even manages to push into there, since China did not send enough support and India had already stationed a lot of troops over here, because after the Sri Lanka incident they knew it was coming. Over here the Chinese army is pretty tired and exhausted from the crossing of the Himalayas, and they get pushed back into China. But there's a different scenario over here, as the Chinese troops are still pushing in, as Indian troops were busy taking back that area. So it's not looking great for India, since they are losing more land than they're gaining. Over here, Indian troops managed to cut off Chinese troops. Um, so and then it's basically a stalemate for next few weeks. Oh my god, I need water again. Anyways, looking that China is winning this war, and they called on help with their ally Pakistan. Basically what Pakistan does is station their troops over here, send them over here, and down here they just like create a defense line. So here they supply the troops and then help China get back their lost connection over here. And over here they invade, trying to connect up with the Chinese, and then at the end invading New Delhi. So I already have a bad habit of saying, so we're gonna be trying to say that word at least as possible. Anyways, the Chinese troops have pushed back the Indian troops, and it's a stalemate over here, since nobody wants to do crossing of the Himalayas. And Indian troops have pushed down the Chinese troops a little, but it's almost a stalemate again. Over here in this border, Chinese warships are arriving, and whatever help from here, food supplies and everything, they managed to push back India, except for that India maintains a little bit of land over here. Now there's India calling on help from its allies, since it does not look good for them, as they are losing a lot of land over here to the Chinese and the Pakistani army, as India just cannot fight a three-fronted war and win, or even like put up, since China is stronger than India, and Pakistan is also half decent, not bad. So who comes for India's help over here? Well, recently Afghanistan's, or Taliban now, Pakistan and Taliban are not really getting along, but while India and Taliban, they don't have bad connections or good connections, but they're okay with each other and they have showed support. So here, surprisingly, Afghanistan joins in because of what Pakistan just did a few months ago, I think. A month ago. Yeah, they did. They bombed a few places. So Afghanistan is doesn't really have an army. It's more of guerrilla fighting and terrorists. So their influence over here is the most over here, and this is where they have the least one. But all the Pakistani troops are focused down on here, and when this starts getting invaded, oh my god, um, they are freaking out. So they withdraw all of their troops and from over here, except that they tell them to hold on to this piece of land. Oh. Except that they tell them to hold this piece of land over here, and after whatever defenses that were put up here before the fighting started, hold off pretty well since Afghanistan, as I said before, doesn't have a real army. Um, and China starts sending support, but they are not really gonna help Pakistan as their main focus here is India. They're like, well, go do it on your own. Here we see India getting pushed out, and again the Chinese troops push in. Over here, as India can focus all its troops over here, we see the Chinese getting a little bit pushed back, but it ends up in a stalemate again. Over here, the Chinese troops push in, and but that also results in India pushing in over here, trying to use the classic surround the enemy and then attack tactic. But China's having none of it, so they get pushed right back, and even they push in. It's really not looking good for India anymore. But India, now having pretty good allies, calls upon more allies, and then after a lot of negotiations, all these countries join in since they know if India gets captured or even broken down, they are in real trouble, as India really helps them stay a country from the threat of China. Now they're not going to be able to do much except send supplies and troops, since the Himalayas over here are really stopping them from invading China. Um, let's see. So after India is really like, wait, what? Refreshed, let's say, they completely managed to push out the Chinese troops from over here, since the withdrawal of the Pakistani troops really cut out support. And they're basically putting all their military secure in the Kashmir area, and then after that happens, they just hold a defensive line. They don't invade China and send the rest of their troops over here. They're basically taking a step-by-step process to kick China out. China has a pretty strong grip, so they're not able to do much except invade a little bit from the center. And down here, China is pushing more and more. But as like a lot of great cities are here, they have a few protests, and China's not really able to invade any further. And Sri Lanka, their puppet state, they turned back on China. So it isn't looking really great for China, as they're getting pushed back everywhere. Their ally is getting destroyed, and this is like their only, let's say, what do you call it, captured territory. And now their puppet state is gone, and they are having a bit of drama over here. But they get pushed back, but the consequences are that they need to withdraw a lot of troops to put down all the rebellions, and end up getting a little bit invaded from India. So basically India does now withdraws all its troops all of them except for a few thousand on the defense lines. They say if we knock out Sri Lanka, then we won't have to worry over here, and we'll just have to like push back Chinese troops over here in the north. And so they have a complete invasion of Chinese Sri Lanka, and they meet up. Supplies are produced, and Sri Lanka gets liberated. So, what happens next? Well, Pakistan is pushing back Afghanistan a little, but because of the terrorist groups and constant bombing each other, they're not really able to completely push them back, resulting in the withdrawal of Pakistan. This is what we get. Pakistan lost a little bit of land as they were not gaining any over here. This border stays almost the same, and Pakistan gets a little bit of land over here. I mean, loses a land a little bit over here, and Afghanistan gains more land. Now, it will be okay for them to withdraw out of the war, but as they don't like China getting territory, since they just like got territory, they push back against China as China just completely forgot that there was a thing existing such as Afghanistan. They get pushed out pretty easily, and Afghanistan even manages to push in. So this is looking bad for China, as now they have to fight a two-fronted war. All right, it looks really bad for them now. So what do they do? Well, they call on their allies, and would you look at that? They have none except for North Korea, who let's say doesn't want to get involved, since they really don't hate any of the countries that are involved in this war, such as India. They have fine relations with them, and they don't want more enemies, as they already have more than half of the world as their sworn enemy. So they don't join the war. Over here, the Indian troops are now pushing back the Chinese troops, as they have complete focus over here. And the Chinese troops also are very tired at this point fighting wars, as they took over Taiwan, they took over Sri Lanka, they faced a lot of battles and they lost. So the Chinese go for a peace treaty here, but India refuses, as a peace treaty includes India losing land, and Afghanistan, there's also a pressure from Afghanistan, since they also lose land in their peace treaty. How surprising of China to do that. Anyways, Bhutan and Nepal both are and Bangladesh, don't forget them. They are providing troops in heaps now. Since Bangladesh has a lot of population, they're forcing recruits that are from 18 to 20. All right, they're forcing them to come. So what does this result in? So this results in China getting their ass kicked, as they completely get obliterated over here. But they do manage to hold let's say post out here. Yeah, they managed to hold out a little bit over here, but that's it. So since Afghanistan is invading here and India already has defense lines set up here, they decide to go and meet up with Afghanistan. Now Afghanistan is going to be doing most of the work to meet up with India, as India does not want to spend more troops, and Afghanistan, well, they like invading things at this point. They don't like to get invaded anymore. India does reach out a little, but it's mostly Afghanistan coming, and they meet up. Resources are exchanged, and then they simultaneously start getting deeper and deeper into China. Since this, let's say, yeah, over here, that's a rough line. China is not really heavily militarized, or good population is over there. They don't really hold out that well with the combined forces of India and Afghanistan, as they're half decent. And yeah, China is now losing land. And when you look at that, India managed just to invade China from over here. But India is also now running out of resources. So what India does is send warships to liberate Taiwan, and basically they make a landing, and then with all of like the rogue for the Chinese, the rogue Taiwanese group join them, and they liberate this part of Taiwan. Now, the Indian troops leave weapons and military a little bit, but they don't really do much over there anymore. They leave it to Taiwan. And China just can't take so many fronts and is starting to lose a real amount of land. And of course, there's a lot of diplomatic pressure to stop this war from the US, the UN, and like everybody. As Russia is providing China with troops, they are getting exhausted. As in this world, the Ukraine war conflict still exists. They are also pressuring China to stop this madness. So let's end the video here, and let's take a look at the peace treaty. So this is the peace treaty, which surprisingly took longer than the actual mapping video for me. Afghanistan gained a little bit of land from Pakistan over here, and gained this land from China. India gained this land from China over here, but sadly they do not gain any land from Pakistan, as they did barely anything to invade them. India over here, approximately these were the borders before. Let's say over here, these were the borders before, and India gains a little bit of land over here. They also gain this Sri Lanka, and then they have their puppet state over here. And oh, I colored this one wrong. Yeah, there we go. They also set up a puppet state in Taiwan, and China has all that land. What would you think would have happened? Comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you liked the video, and check the description for my other channel, and as it also posts Sigma videos, and it's just good. You're not skibidi if you don't check that channel out. Peace out. Oh wait. If you're still here, tell me what next video I should make down in the comments. And yeah, peace out. This time for real.